I'm going to go over the rules and how this works. Basically, there are 3 rounds. Each round is 20 minutes that painters will be able to go up and paint on stage. In the first round and the second round, you guys are going to vote with the code that you got as you came in the door. Now, if you didn't get one of those, go back to the door and you can get a link to be able to vote on. Now, there's going to be 6 artists up there. The top 2 from the first round and the top 2 from the second round are going to advance to the third round. Whoever wins that third round gets a cash prize, and all of this art goes on silent auction. Please bid early, bid often. And you guys get to vote how that's going to turn out. Now, we're going to wait till the end of the second round before we announce what the winners of the first and second round are. And also for the second round, we're going to pull a wild card. That means one of you from the audience that put your name into that bucket up at the front will be able to go up there and paint. If you didn't have the opportunity to put your name up there, you can also go do that up at the front. I encourage all of you to be brave. Now, without further ado, I'm going to pass the microphone over to our MC for the evening, Michael Anthony, right here. But before that, let's hear it for the venue.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to Great Northern, guys. First off, we can still say until February 1, Happy New Year. Yes, indeed, to everyone. If you got the cat ears, you're awesome. There's some cat ears left upstairs. Good. All right, guys. Shall we bring our artists soon? Shall we do that? Are you guys ready for your first round artists? I want to hear it. We're going to take some great local artwork home tonight. Check out what they have to offer. Remember, bid on these pieces of art. It's really good to support a local artist. I'm going to bring them out right now. This is DJ Craig Show right here, throwing down some great music tonight. Can I get some beats to bring out these artists? All right, here we go. Our first artist. She's inspired by music, visual, tech, art, trees, and flowers. Enjoys songwriting, singing with her guitar, and long walks on a beach. Are you ready for Amanda Bodie? Come on, Amanda! Here she comes. She's coming out right about now. This guy is so embedded in the SF art scene. I love him. He's always hanging out. Just give it up for Hash. His name is Hash. He's coming out right now. Hash! This next artist is a San Francisco-based artist who specializes in creating both realistic and abstract works. Can you please give it up for Vanessa Ramirez? Who knows Vanessa? Raise your hands if you know Vanessa. That's what I'm talking about. She is awesome. The next artist is a multi-dimensional artist who's excited to compete in his first art battle. Can you please give it up for Gio Angeles? Gio! Our next artist is a muralist who focuses on social environmental issues, politics, identity, and vulnerability. I like this guy a lot. He's really fun. He's a real sweet guy, and he's a fucking hell of a painter. Anthony Jimenez! Let's go, Anthony! You've seen this guy's work all over town. He kills it. All right. And our last artist in round 1, definitely amazing artist right here. Been painting since she was 4. She paints with work inspired by aesthetics of master and nature. Here we go. Dia Yuridia. Totally murdered her name. Here she goes. Really known for that. Artists, are you ready?
Excuse me.
Artists, are you ready? Raise your hands if you are ready.
Excuse me, sorry.
Audience, can you give them a round of applause? They're up there. There's 400 of you. There's 5 of them. We're going to get this started. We're going to start this counter right here. Here we go. We're going to art battle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Art battle. All right, guys. Now.
All right, hello and welcome everyone to Art Battle San Francisco. We have an absolutely incredible lineup of artists for you here tonight. We have our first 6 artists painting right now in round number 1. We've just started, so they have 20 minutes on the clock to go from blank canvas to finished masterpiece right in front of your eyes. We are with Gio Angeles right now, and looks like Gio is starting off with a little bit of sketch work, really getting into the planning stages. of the painting, and I believe that this is actually Gio's first ever art battle, and Gio is actually a tattoo artist. And just behind him, we are looking at Hashem. Moving over to Hashem right now. And Hashem is someone that I was really looking forward to seeing tonight. Hashem tends to do these just absolutely beautiful, very emotive, very painterly multimedia portraits. And I think that that's what we're being treated to already right now. Looks like we're getting started off with a little bit of charcoal potentially being washed out with some water, almost like a watercolor treatment here. And just from the way that this shape is coming together, I feel like this is going to end up being a portrait. We're getting kind of that central axis coming down the center, and I think that maybe that is going to end up being the shadow in the middle of a face. Potentially quite abstract at this point, though. 2.5 minutes in, and Hashem has quite a lot of composition covered on the canvas already, so working very rapidly. And I think that we're getting maybe the impression of an eye at this point. I love these first few minutes in Art Battle because we really are still very much in the element of surprise, just seeing the first few marks being laid down on these canvas. And still there's so much room for interpretation. And really the first few minutes definitely set the scene for the rest of the round, just because it's all a time management game in live competitive painting. So this artist is on the floor. And Vanessa, I think that this is Vanessa Ramirez. And it looks like they are working on potentially using some charcoal also. And we have this central tree coming into creation right now. Getting that nice close-up view. What I love about working with charcoal is that it creates this looseness of powder that can really be buffed out to create different levels of shade, and also creates these beautiful marks where you can see the canvas coming through underneath, and just adds to its kind of expressive nature. And moving over here to Baya. And Baya is creating what looks like is potentially a water scene. We're having a lot of blue on the canvas, and Baya is known very well for doing a lot of textural wave paintings. And I think that that's definitely what we're seeing here, off to an absolutely stunning start. Only 5 minutes in, and Baya has the whole canvas covered, lots of great texture. Lots of great texture here, coming in with the palette knife as well, and really getting a chance to layer all of that pigment on top of each other. And the way that she's laying down this paint with this palette knife, we're getting kind of this effect of when she's putting it down and pulling it up, it's pulling the paint up just a little bit and creating these peaks. Almost if you're imagining icing a cake and the way that the icing flows and creates little peaks and textures. That's the way that Baya is treating this paint right now, and just layering and layering these textures. And as she's stippling this palette knife across the canvas, we're getting also the color underneath, and really interesting to see the way that these colors are blending together in these specific mark making techniques. And here we are, of course, with Anthony Jimenez. And Anthony was actually the representative for San Francisco in the US National Championship in 2022. So very, very exciting to have Anthony back. He is an artist that I just adore watching paint. And this being a 7-minute painting is flooring me already. Look at the compartmentalization of these shadows. Just stunning. Really getting that beautiful ridge of the collarbone here and such a strong use of color. And if this is Anthony's only palette, if he doesn't have any hidden palette anywhere, it looks like we're going just black and red here, which I think is such a bold move. I don't even see any white on the palette there to pull out any highlights at the end. I think that Anthony is just going to be playing with these two colors and using potentially the red and the red at its most saturated point as the highlight. And moving over here to Vanessa Ramirez. And looks like we're getting a portrait here, potentially a monkey portrait. I feel like that's the vibe that I'm starting to get here. Just seeing this little shape on the side of the head. I think that that looks like a little monkey ear, and we've got this big happy smile happening. And again, quite a lot of work and canvas covered in our first half of the round here. All of these works are available for silent auction as well, at the same link that is on your screen. You will be using that link to vote the top 2 artists from each round. We'll be moving forward into a third and final showdown round. So as we're watching the performance of these artists tonight, I want you to think not only of whose painting is best and who do you think has the best visual representation, but also whose performance are you enjoying the most. So we've had our first revolution around the canvas to see our first 6 artists painting, and we've gotten to see how they've treated their first half of the timed competition, and now we're really going into the second half. They've established where they're going with their paintings. They've established their first marks, their first steps, and now we're really getting into the crunch time of where they're honing in on these ideas and really starting to get quite technical. Interesting compositional choice from Vanessa here, taking this portrait into just a single hemisphere of the face here and cutting it off basically in the middle of the nose and then using the rest of the canvas for that blue. And getting a little zoom here on Gio. And it looks like Gio is doing a dancer, potentially. We're getting a figure. I think this is from the back. We can see that kind of shape of the hair. And this figure is looking quite delicate. It's small on the canvas, and so there's a lot of detail work that is going in there. So getting a little bit closer up with Gio here, navigating through our lights, and we can see that Gio even is using his hand to brace and rest his painting hand on top of. I always love seeing little performance nuances like that in art battle, because it kind of reminds us how difficult it is to keep your hands steady when you're painting, and it gives us a little bit of insight into kind of the artist's studio. I don't totally know why, but it's one of my favorite things to see, is just to see an artist and the way that they brace their hand. It's that kind of little spark of personality coming through. So this figure, fairly small on the canvas, but I think that there's a lot of room in the bottom hemisphere of the canvas here, potentially for some sort of voluminous skirt coming through. I would love to see that from this piece. I'd love to see some big texture, big bold color coming through. And back with Hashem here. And Hashem is not disappointing. We're getting this emotive portrait. And I was correct in assuming that that kind of hemisphere approach to the face, where we were getting shading on one side, was going to be the delineating point between two sides of the face. And we've got our nose right in the center there. And these big bold eyebrows coming in. So Hashem has really established quite a lot of the painting with mid-tone, and is now going in with darker points of contrast to bring those features forward. Really honing in on the shape of the eye. And I'm almost hoping that Hashem keeps the rest of the portrait quite abstract. I'm liking that kind of ghosty feeling on the other side. That's just the suggestion of the features. We're getting this tighter approach into the darker side, and then totally light in the highlights and very washy, very painterly. But with 7 minutes left on the clock, it's really anyone's guess on how this piece is going to finish up. If that component that I want to remain unfinished is going to remain so, or if it's going to be honed and finished and have more details added into it. And moving over to Amanda Fode here, who was our artist that we saw painting on the floor. In just a moment. Still with Hashem here, and getting that really great sense of contrast into the top corner as well with that hit of black. Really adding some visual weight there. So we are entering into our final quarter of this round, our final 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes on the clock. Voting is now open at artbattle.com/AB2426. That is where you will register to vote, and you will get a text to your phone after you enter your phone number to choose your favorite artist, and you can also access the auction that way. You don't need to be in the room to be able to collect any of these works. So here we are with Amanda, and Amanda is still on the floor drawing with charcoal. And I think as we get closer, we're going to be able to see more of the composition here, and looks like we're getting a bridge in the background. But this tree is really the central axis, the central focus of this piece. Yes, definitely looks like we're getting the Golden Gate Bridge here. So apt to be drawing or painting this super famous bridge as this competition is taking place in San Francisco. So we're definitely getting a audience recognition point there for Amanda, I think. And I think that that's going to be a good strategy for her with the crowd, to have that point of recognition from that bridge. Because I do think that Amanda is having a little bit of trouble with the competition just in terms of people being able to see the work. So it's going to be super important that this piece is really cohesive once she finishes it and puts it back up on the easel. Again, with that kind of dusty component of the charcoal, something that I really like, that we can see that Amanda has pushed it outward into the rest of the canvas to kind of convey this almost like a roiling sky. heading back over to Baya here. And if we were excited about the texture before, we are even more excited now, especially with this camera angle and the way that the light is playing off of the canvas. We're just seeing all of the luscious texture that's been created here. All of these beautiful hills and valleys of paint. And we can see even that just heavy application, and she is just spreading it with so much confidence as well. This is a palette that Baya is very well versed in, very close to how she paints in her studio work, and you can really see the maturity of technique coming in through here. You can see that this is something that she's used to painting, and I think that that's a really strong strategy to be bringing to Art Battle for sure, because not only is it going to be recognizable for people who are already in her audience, but it's something that she can feel comfortable executing and that will stay with people. And getting that other side of the view, previously we were looking at all of the gorgeous texture, and now getting this kind of flip side view where the lighting isn't so harsh, we can really appreciate the color story here, and get a better sense of the form of the painting. And I'm getting almost a little bit of like a Hokusai energy with the Great Wave. We can really see the boiling of the sea, the kind of super energy that these waves have crashing. And even in the sky is a little bit flatter of an execution, but there's even so much depth there. A really fantastic piece. Getting into our last 90 seconds here, and we can see that Anthony has created such a tight piece in the background here. Checking out that red portrait, just absolutely stunning. So clean. And something that Anthony does that I've seen him do at Art Battle before, actually, that I always really enjoy is this kind of addition of a frame within the painting. So he's created this box around the painting, and it just creates such a sense of being finished, and is almost a little bit tongue-in-cheek as well, because the canvas itself is a frame, but adding the frame on top of that just brings it into a little bit almost like a different dimension. I really appreciate that kind of emphasis. It's really just helping to kind of create that punch for this character, and this character is so present, and such a strong level of kind of confrontational energy, but very strong and prideful.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's our battle! Give a round of applause, guys. They fucking crushed it. Breathe in deep, y'all. Breathe in deep. All right, Art Battle. Now it's your turn. They worked their asses off for you. Now, please, open all those up. Make sure you start bidding on your favorite art, and also choosing your favorite to go to round 2. So we have bidding open, and we have voting open, right? So vote for your favorite artist right now, and make sure you put a bid on local artists you can take home with you right now. I'm telling you, this is a great place to do it. Grab a drink, do a
Wow, what a spectacular first round for this edition of Art Battle in San Francisco. I gotta say, I'm majorly impressed with these artists, and especially there were so many different styles present, and I feel like each artist definitely stayed really true to their personal artistic voice. I recognize the artist's studio work in a lot of their live painting, and I think that's a really strong strategy as well. So if after you cast your vote at artbattle.com/AB2426, you can also head over to the Art Battle San Francisco Instagram and check out all of these artists. We have each of their individual portfolios tagged, so you can see what I mean when I'm talking about studio work versus live painting, and it's so interesting to see how those two styles translate and meld into each other and inform one another. Just really, really impressed with these artists in round number 1. We will be counting the votes for just a few minutes, and round number 2 will be back in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, go to that link, make sure that you vote. The top 2 artists from this round will be moving forward into the 3rd and final round. And our second qualifying round happening again in just a few minutes. So make sure that you visit that link, cast your vote, and also bid on these works. You don't need to be in the room to collect them. We will ship them to you. A really fantastic display of courage and talent and creativity for round number 1 of Art Battle in San Francisco. So impressed by these artists. We will be back for round number 2 in just a few minutes. We are counting the votes now. Make sure that you go to artbattle.com/AB2426. That is where you will register to vote, and you can also bid on all of these works. You don't need to be in the room. We will ship them to you.